It was a late autumn evening when Sarah found herself standing at the front gates of the old Holloway mansion, a place that had been abandoned for nearly 30 years, yet still held a terrifying reputation in the small town of Red Hollow. The crumbling stone walls, tangled vines, and darkened windows made it seem more like a forgotten relic of a bygone era than a house that once housed a family. But the rumors, oh the rumors. Sarah had heard the stories since she was a little girl. The Holloway family disappeared without a trace. Some said they fled, some said they were taken, and others whispered about something far darker. But tonight, Sarah was determined to uncover the truth. She had been waiting for this moment for years. She pulled her flashlight from her bag and pushed the rusted gates open, the creak echoing through the night. She hesitated for just a moment, the heavy air pressing down on her chest. But then she stepped forward. Her heart pounded as she made her way toward the house. The door groaned as it swung open on its own. "Hello," Sarah called into the blackness. Her voice trembled despite her best efforts to sound confident. A soft breeze blew past her, carrying with it the scent of something stale, something old. But there was no answer, only silence. Inside, the air was thick with dust. The floorboards creaked beneath her every step. Sarah slowly made her way down the long hallway, her flashlight beam catching glimpses of cracked portraits and overturned furniture. It was as if the house had been frozen in time, yet there was something unnerving about its stillness. It was as though it had been waiting for her. She reached the staircase and glanced up. The second floor loomed above, casting long, twisted shadows across the walls. Something about the top of the stairs unsettled her, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. As she began to ascend, the air grew colder, and a strange sensation prickled the back of her neck. The silence was almost suffocating. As her foot hit the first step, she heard it, a soft whisper, barely audible, yet unmistakable. "Help me." Her blood ran cold. She froze on the stairs, gripping the banister, her flashlight flickering. The voice sounded faint, distant, but Sarah felt it deep in her bones. "Who's there?" she asked, her voice barely more than a whisper. There was no reply, just the creaking of the house and the distant murmur of the wind outside. She hesitated, then took another step, and another. The whisper came again, louder this time, closer. "Help me." The voice led her down the hall, past rooms she couldn't bear to look into, until she found herself in front of a door that seemed to be different from the others. It was a simple wooden door, worn and cracked with age, but there was something about it that drew her in. The whisper seemed to emanate from within. With a deep breath, Sarah reached for the handle and turned it. The door creaked open, revealing a room bathed in an eerie, unnatural glow. The light flickered as though it was struggling to stay on, but it was enough to make out the details. The walls were lined with old, yellowed bookshelves, most of the books long since decayed or gone. At the far end of the room, an old rocking chair creaked back and forth on its own, and sitting in that chair was a figure, a woman. Her back was turned, but Sarah could make out the outline of her thin, frail body. Are you the one calling for help?" Sarah asked, her voice shaking now. Her flashlight flickered again, the beam narrowing in on the figure in the chair. The woman didn't respond. She simply rocked back and forth, her hair falling over her face, hiding her features. Sarah's heart raced as she stepped forward. "Please," the voice came again, and this time it was unmistakably coming from the woman. "Please, help me." Sarah felt a chill wash over her. The air grew colder still, The rocking chair creaked louder, as though something was urging her to approach. Against every instinct screaming in her body, Sarah took another step forward. She was just a few feet away now, the figure in the chair still rocking, her body bent forward. The whisper came again. "Help me." Sarah reached out, trembling. She was just about to touch the woman's shoulder when the woman's head shot up, her face twisted in an agonizing grimace. Her eyes were black, voids of darkness that seemed to swallow all light. Sarah froze, her hand inches from the woman's shoulder. "No!" the woman screamed, her voice a guttural, unnatural sound. "Don't look!" But it was too late. The room plunged into total darkness. The air grew thick with the stench of decay, and Sarah could feel something cold and clammy brushing against her skin. She stumbled backward, heart pounding in her chest. Her flashlight flickered out completely, leaving her in pitch-black terror. Sarah heard it then, the sound of heavy breathing. It wasn't her own. She spun around, the breath caught in her throat. The house groaned as if it were alive, and she could feel something moving in the darkness. She didn't know what it was, but she knew it was coming for her. She turned to run, but the hallway stretched out longer than before. Every step she took felt like she was sinking deeper into the house, the walls closing in around her. Her foot caught on something, and she tumbled to the floor, panic flooding her mind. The whispering returned, louder now, all around her. A voice no longer pleading for help, but demanding it. "Get out! Get out now!" She scrambled to her feet, her legs unsteady, as the very air seemed to choke her. With every ounce of strength, she sprinted down the hallway, her pulse deafening in her ears. The front door, was so close now, but the whispers grew louder. Just as she reached for the handle, she felt something cold latch onto her ankle. She screamed, kicking wildly, but the grip was unyielding, pulling her back into the house. With a final, desperate effort, she tore herself free, flinging the door open and stumbling out into the night. The cold air never felt so sweet. She didn't stop running until she was far from the house. Only then, her breaths ragged and heart-pounding, did she dare to look back. The Holloway mansion stood silent in the moonlight, its dark windows staring back at her like hollow eyes. But Sarah knew better now. The house wasn't empty. It was waiting, and it would never let her go.